Oklahoma prepares animal control for furry collection. You heard that right. Furries, like the people who dress up in full mascot uniforms to look like foxes and what other weird animals, furry type animals. Here is the scenario. In Oklahoma, Representative Justin Humphrey has proposed a new bill. Oklahoma has taken a strong stance currently against the trans movement. This is what the article has said. It's got a lot of liberal, hyperbolic, divisive perspective on it, but I'm going to propose it. They have said that conservatives will not give up trying to make the link between furries and trans people and other weird queer moves. That being said, here's the legislation. And please, this is the will of the people. And we're not even the people of Oklahoma. But if anybody in this room abstains from this legislation, please do not hesitate. However, at the same time, if we conclude this and you are willing to put this into law, I just want to hear you all say aye. You know, like the first congressional meeting in Philadelphia. Okay?
All right.
Being enacted by the people of the state of Oklahoma.
Aye.
Trying to give Brian some time. It's taking a while.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over here.
Well, if you go down,
there
hit
it is.
present.
Okay. I was, yeah.
But you don't even have to do that. You can just hit present.
I know. I was just trying to find the. Yep, go on.
Well, I can't.
You're
Just
good.
trying to wait.
Yep. I'm working on it. Don't you worry. Where are we at? Window here. There.
All righty. There we are.
Well, part of me feels, do we wait for Doug or what?
I think we keep going. Doug will catch up. He knows.
He'll hear you.
He'll hear you.
Being enacted by the people of the state of Oklahoma, students purport to be imaginary animals or animal species, or who engage in anthropomorphic behavior, commonly referred to as furries at school, shall not be allowed to participate in school curriculum or activities. The parent or guardian of the student in violation of this section shall pick the student up from the school, or animal control services shall be contacted to remove the student.
That's it.
That's the bill.
That's the whole thing.
Nobody?
I
That's
wish more
it?
legislation was a little shorter than that. So I guess so. Gurget, you have a degree in law, do you not? I think there's an issue with one of the sections in this part. So if you take part in animalmorphic behavior,
Anthropomorphic
behavior, I think there's a bit of a typo with that. So we are all animals, are we not?
Sure. Mammals. Brian, Google that.
Are we? Probably what it should say is non-human
Anthropomorphic.
animalmorphic behaviors. So I could easily see if you follow the letter of the law exactly.
What is the definition?
Relating to or characterized by
Anthropomorphism, explanation of animal behavior. Oh, there's not even a
the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object.
Well.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's gross stuff, dude.
Well, so you have children in the playground and they're playing like, I don't know. They bark like a dog. Have you ever seen a child bark like a dog, or like meow like a cat, moo like a horse, or moo like a horse, moo like a cow, oink like a pig?
I've seen both.
Under that law, because it's very tight. It's
No,
a very
it's
tight law.
sexual behavior.
I don't know.
So wait, say that again. It's animal-like behavior. What is the definition?
The attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object.
So in theory, you could bark like a dog, and that's putting, animal behaviors as a human. Is that not true?
I think this allows them to take it on a case-by-case basis and enact it when necessary. You're picking up on something, right? Like if dressing up like a furry, because here's what they're trying to prevent.
Absolutely.
A North Carolina, I was almost a North Korean. A North Carolinian school has to put litter boxes in their bathrooms for mentally unwell students. So if that's the case, we need to put things up to stop that.
Okay.
So I think it being taken on a case-by-case basis, we can evaluate, were these some kids just pretending to be wolves? Or because there's a culture to this, it's a snowball effect. You've got weird furries congregating at your local library, and they're trying to entice kids. A coworker of mine whose child is 12 comes home and tells her, "Mom, I'm a furry. I'm a furry." What is that? And who implanted that seed? Other kids at school. Well, who implanted it in them? So yeah, there's a weird culture brewing. I see you, TikTok. That phone up there you're part of the problem. You're the one feeding a lot of these ideas to kids. So what are we trying to bar? Is parents coming in and demanding you put in litter boxes in the bathroom. Us having to, we can't call you he or she. We have to engage with you as if you're a cat. What's up, Brian?
Yeah, Bama Boy said, if you act like a dog, we'll treat you like one. Get him a dog bowl.
Yeah, exactly. But again,
Put them outside in the cold and tell them to go to the bathroom. That'll make them realize they're not an animal.
Right, bingo, because that's it. You're not an animal.
Have you ever watched a dog go to the bathroom? They look ashamed to be doing it in front of you outside.
I think they're pretty damn proud.
Yeah, they're proud. They stare you down right in the
You
eyes.
think they're proud? You think that's why they're staring you in the eye?
So
I think it's shame.
It's like, buddy,
Look
you're
what
picking
you
up
got
my
it.
shit after this.
Yeah, look who's cleaning
I did
this
a
up.
hot, steamy one just for you. Yeah. Yeah, they're not ashamed. They're proud. They're very proud. Anyway, continue.
I totally lost my frame of thought. I mean,
so
just thinking about hot, steamy dog poop is just.
I just think like we all know what the underlying root is, and it's just like a weird fetishism. And
Right.
They're trying to like keep it out of the school, like truthfully.
Right, because again, I like where your brain's at, David. Right, like you found one hole, but the bigger hole that I find in it is behavior. No. This is where you are wrong. Actually,
Okay.
it is. You got to fit. Sorry, this is why statue reading is so important and takes 3 years to figure it out. Students who purport to be an imaginary animal or animal species, or who engage in anthropomorphic behavior, commonly referred to as furries at school, shall not be allowed to participate in school curriculum. So I was literally about to say the thing that I want defined is what's a furry. And it's saying anthropomorphic behavior, acting like an animal, pretending to be an imaginary animal in the spirit of a furry, which would be dressing up. And again, that becomes distractive in class. You've got like, what I wanted to be curious about is where do you draw that line? Because we grew up before furries was an actual mental illness that we're stuck with today. There were weird people, some of them even being on this podcast, where they would literally wear cat ears in school, just like a headband where it's little cat ears. Well, yeah, I think she wore cat ears on the damn podcast. But that being said, that you also had people of the same vein that would literally attach a tail to themselves. And that was it. But like, where do you draw the line? Because these furries, it's an evolution. Then it becomes the mitts. And now you look at me, I got little paws. And now at some point you're wearing a full costume. And we're going to tell that kid he can't wear a ski mask. We're going to tell that kid he can't wear the Jason Voorhees mask on Halloween. But you can dress up like this on a Wednesday. And we're supposed to pretend you're mentally well enough to totally be sound that you are not going to just shoot us up because your identity is totally covered. Go ahead.
Well, here's my thought. You made some good, like the wearing the ear, whatever. But you know what first came to mind is Playboy bunnies. They're wearing bunny ears and they're wearing an outfit with a little bunny like poof on the butt.
Everybody's favorite anthropomorphic.
Because if that is, I don't think that's that bad.
Yeah, but
No, but what made a Playboy bunny? Them taking it all off. We were not here to be excited about you wearing the bunny stuff. We were waiting for you to take the bunny stuff off.
I think the ears were still on, though. I think once it was all
Have you
off, the ears
opened
were
one of
still
those
on.
magazines? You think wrong. Clearly, I'm the only one that had a childhood here.
the point's not bad. The only difference is like animal-like behavior. Them behaving like
Yeah, they're not trying to be the rabbit.
Like I've never seen,
They're just with a carrot.
dude, open the first page.
What's up, Doc?
Open the first page of Playboy and it's just like chewing grass.
Yeah. It just pans through the Playboy Mansion, girls next door, and it's just 3 girls just chewing on grass, like. Nom, 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 nom. Oh man, that makes me. Yeah, exactly. What do you think about that, Howie?
So, do you think this this proposed legislation is reactionary, or is it? Do you think Oklahoma's having some issues here with furries, or is this a bit more of like kind of conservative peacocking?
Oh, you
Who
didn't hear?
cares?
You didn't hear? All the furries are there.
Yeah. Well, it is funny. Literally, I just watched. I'm waiting for everybody to get here, getting things set up. I was watching. People today.
No.
And through being in a podcast, it becomes even clearer. And so a lot of the criticism in his comments are that, like, you're not very well grounded. You are very removed from people. And he goes on this rant. I'm not removed. I am, whatever. Like, I don't know what the cost of milk is. You don't know what the cost of a 500, whatever jet is. And you're like, okay, cool. At the same time, he goes, what? I can't be normal because I'm not some store manager at a Hobby Lobby in Oklahoma? No. You know what makes you grounded? A grounded person does whatever they can to get on a plane and leave Oklahoma. And so, funny punchline, good bit, but there's a connotation to Oklahoma, and the reality is there isn't anything there. They got the same negative press Ohio's got, and they're all Mormons types anyway, right? That's the type of consideration you have of Oklahoma people. So again, the beauty of 50 states is we don't want your creepiness here. Oh, well, I want to be a creepy freak. Okay, then go to any of the 49 other options where freaks are still allowed. And then if those people vote too, and like it continues to go, hey, you know what? Actually, we just like, did you know there's an appetite for people want to lick kids? But we've all agreed across the board, 50 states of us have all gone, no matter how much you want to make it a condition, minor attracted persons, we all agree on a moral compass. No. So guess what? If Oklahoma says no, and then New Jersey says no, and then Maine says no, then guess what? This is the century-old beauty of what the Greeks created, democracy. So you want to go be a freak and tuck your tail between your legs, California's calling for you. But Oklahoma don't want none of it. And guess what? I bet you there's a freak in California missing a few teeth that's like, you know what? I think I'm going to make my way to Oklahoma. Them be my people. And then there's other people in Oklahoma that are like, I just love the feel as it caresses up my back. I need to leave this. But then leave, baby cakes. Get the fuck out. I don't know.
So I think our government can spend a little bit more time doing other things.
Dude, furries.
I am not a furry advocate. Dear Lord, have you seen furries in real life?
Yeah, dude, they're freaks.
It's uncomfortable.
It's an illness.
It's very uncomfortable being around them. And they usually, now, I think in fairness,
have you seen homeless people?
I have.
Did you know homeless people like being there too? They
do.
think they're supposed to be there. That's where. And there's actually something unwell there. And so a lot of people want to intervene. We call it in America a mental health issue. But you know what doesn't help the issue? When you think you're a fairy and we force everybody's speech. This is literally necessary. This is a necessary stance. And if you disagree with it, then you move and then you don't vote for it. But the reality is somebody's going to finally stand up against this crap.
I don't think this is actually, I think if it ever came to a vote, I think the way Oklahoma does, I think all representatives within Oklahoma they can just put a bill up and it's publicized
right.
and all that. And then we see some of that here. I don't think this is going to get too very far, but
no,
let's assume this gets far enough here. I think this also might be a First Amendment problem as well. Now, I don't know what rights children have in school because it gets a little fuzzy because this is mainly for schools, correct? With the
its sole purpose is to really focus on that
for schools, and really the jurisdiction of the government to kind of enforce. Because I don't know what rights you necessarily have as someone who's under 18 in like kind of like school property of that sort. This might have jurisdiction, but I believe if you identify or like, boy, you could probably have a good enough lawyer to make an argument that being, having furry like behaviors is part of your speech, and with the First Amendment, that is protected. Now, does it come to like, wearing the fursuit is not?
Yeah, but guess what?
First
Where,
Amendment.
this is where the law degree comes in.
Yep.
Also, wearing a band on your arm in negation of Vietnam does not necessarily in that instance, it is protected speech.
Mhm.
But it brought about the inquiry of when speech can be, especially in a school place. Like the standard for freedom of speech on school grounds is significantly lower than your freedom of speech out in public. And even that isn't a totality, right?
Okay.
And we understand that. But the concept is, if it is disruptive and causes issue, or detracts students from the curriculum itself, it can be restricted. And again, if you had a community of freaks, and I'm calling you that because I mean it, and if all of your kin ended up being your baby freaks, and you wanted to make a baby freak school, and everybody wanted to dress like a whole bunch of freaks, then have at it, because my kid ain't going there. And they're going to go to my school, in my community of people that are like me, that see the world, they do their yard, they take care of themselves, they have a career. I don't even know how you're going to have babies. Most of you can't reproduce because you're, conduits, right? You can't have two male plugs. They just don't plug in. Electricity, there is no current there.
Can't dock here. No dock zone.
And I'm not unnecessarily having children. So you can't have any of mine. Can't have any of mine. So you could go buy other ones somewhere else, as you do, but you shouldn't. So whatever you want to do with your free kids, you can, but at the same time, you're outnumbered. Did you look around? Take a look. You're in the free place of freedom. The whole world comes to this one little giant island for freedom. And you're looking around. Oh my God, I'm the only freak here. Nobody else wants to freak around at the school with me. Yeah, that's where we're at. Freedom, actually, democracy. There's a limitation to that freedom when we all think it's a freaky thing.
I get what you're saying, and I do agree. But also, it's like that's like the issue with the internet. I feel like furries is more of like an online community that just sort of like kind of infests other communities.
True.
I agree with
you might
that.
have your 2 or 3 at your school.
Boom.
We knew 'em, we all had them, but it's like, yeah, we didn't associate with them, but there were people probably in Minneapolis that were just like tweeting at them, DMing them, all that thing. That's what kind of keeps it going.
And to me, that only furthers my point. The LGBTQ XYZ PPI 1 2 3 has to just keep adding, right? Where people attracted to AI, people attracted whatever, people attracted to iPhones, right? That's got to be in there somewhere. You've got all these. They have to do it because if you look at the numbers, the main chunk 3, those 3 letters. Literally out of a tribe of 350 million people, they only make up 1.2% of the population. The G's, the B's 1.2, the T's 1.1. Okay, so altogether out of 350 million people, you're looking at about 5% of the population that we allow the voice size of 50% of the population. Will makes the greatest point. This is a freak in a basement alone in Ohio that can reach out and contact the freak alone in mom's basement in Oklahoma and the freak in New Jersey. And then they all are like, we literally do nothing with our lives. So let's put all of our money to this one convention in New York on this one day. And then they get there and they're like, there's so many of us. Yeah. Basic statistics, 1% of 350 million. Yeah, there's 1% of psychotic freaks. You found them and you all found each other. But you get to live in this delusion like there's a significant population, so significant that your voice not only should be equal to all of our parents that just had regular kids, some in band, some in football, some in theater, just regular ass families, your voice shouldn't even just be equal to theirs. It should be greater than. Comments.
Yeah, Bama boy is really going off in this
Let's hear it,
comment
let's
section.
All right.
So it starts off with and let's see how far they can take it, because if they really identify as an animal, animals don't really have rights.
Yeah.
The problem is
We should just put a snare in the middle of the hallway. Ree, 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 ree.
since they believe they're animals and other people should have, like if you say you have to treat me like an animal and stuff, like, no, that's not really how it is. Like, I shouldn't be forced to say what you believe you are. And he has no problem with the Playboy bunnies with the ears on, and he's sure that none of them think they're actually rabbits. People like that are out of touch with reality. And what a big problem is some of them teachers and try to teach other kids their beliefs.
Yeah, that's the other piece too. Here's the Bama boy. I mean,
Yep.
those are all great, but the biggest piece is that, yeah, thank you, because there are greater policies to this one. Maybe it is just grandstanding. I like your word. You always you only use it on the conservative side of things, but sure, it's but that being said, it doesn't mean that it isn't catering to an ideology or a belief that's actually agreed upon. And I love Bama Boy's point where there's another even greater policy we're trying to fight against. I don't even want to have to make an argument why I shouldn't have to put a litter box in the bathroom, but you're making me. And I want to fight against that.
Okay.
But even more so, there is legitimately, whether you agree with it or not, there is a culture war over what teachers are teaching their kids in all facets. Whether it's what's the race theory one?
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. Whether it's critical race theory, gender versus sex, women's, I don't know, whatever, pick them. I don't know. There's so many polarizing topics in a public school curriculum today. It's causing a lot of people to fight. Brian, I appreciate you raising that. We almost wrapped it before I forgot about that. Brian's got a quote here from the minister in the UK, the Minister for Women Equalities, who had a comment on this Furry story and Representative Justin Humphrey's bill here. What was the quote from her?
They are aimed at undoing 2 decades of law that grant people the right to change their legal genders and protect them from discrimination if they do or plan to do so. She elaborated, pointing to the facts that the UK Minister for Women and Equalities used to the Furry Kids story to call for an emergency investigation of school and with teachers who affirm trans identity.
I got something hyperbolic for you. After hearing that, at first, somebody that's totally all about libertarianism, right? Like just liberty, let everybody do whatever everybody wants.
Yep.
I am actually all for.
Alec, you're
Oh
my
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I wonder what
Thank
caused
you,
that.
Ricky.
Yeah, I probably hit her.
Was I mute for a while?
I don't know.
You were mute. You were telling everybody you were
No, well-
libertarian for the most part.
Well, no. So that being said,
You're
I stand by the legal right to change genders at first on its surface. Like, sure, you have the liberty to do whatever you want, but actually, polarizing point here, hyperbolic point. I actually don't stand against making that law because this is so binary. This is so black and white. It is what it is. I don't. You know what though? I'm going to flip it on its head.
Okay.
I think the legal. This is how I pose it to you, liberal that wants to fight me on this point. I think your legal gender that cannot be changed. You know, your legal right to change your gender however you want. No. The gender assigned to you will not be at birth. No. That, we're going to strip the liberal of the liberal narrative. We are going to assign your gender upon your death. And I'm not even going to do it the day you die. I'm going to throw you in a field where your body's going to go. We'll check on it in like 10 years. And what the gender of the bones tell me, that's your gender. So like Rome, they could have called themselves whatever they wanted, but we know this is a male's body. This is a female's bone. That being said, that's what we're going to base it off of. Call yourself whatever you want, but in a legal sense, your identification, you are this. This is what your biology is. Cut up, mangle, do whatever you want. Make, hormone cocktails that you shove in a syringe in every orifice of your body. But you definitely cannot deny the reality of the biology. And that should be unwaverable. You don't change your name. You want to change your legal name from David to Bob? Welcome, Bob. But guess what? Your bones are your bones, and they're going to stay that way.
So I disagree a little bit.
Of course.
Your mic went quiet.
I think if you're going to change anything, it's got to be a really high bar. Like changing your last name's not easy. Tons of documentation, lots of little kind of nitpicky things you got to fill out for the government to get your last name changed with like a marriage certificate, and then changing your actual legal name. I think it's a little bit easier. You might know more than I will on this one, but I think it is still a fairly high bar. I think when it comes to like gender, if you truly want to change your gender, it's got to be a high bar, and there's probably got to be a cool down period, because I think with names, you can't just change your name. At
this point, I'm willing to be provocative and mean enough to just say I'm not convinced it's not a mental illness. Like a decade into this game, I'm done pretending. I'm not convinced.
I mean,
I'm 100% convicted that you are mentally ill, and I'm not convinced otherwise. So as the loving liberal that you are, can you tell me why that is the case?
I drink one Voodoo Ranger, and now I'm a liberal. But the oh boy, oh man, that's yeah. Uh-oh. Well, so yeah. So what we're probably dealing with here a little bit too. We did have trans like body dysmorphia. That was our gender dysmorphia. That was in the DSM-4, and then they changed it back in the DSM-5 and actually put in like video game stuff. But anyway, it was for quite a while a mental illness. It was there. It was, the community did recognize it. And I think what we see, part of what we see here with the trans movement is there was a lot of fight for gay rights, a lot of fight for, gay people being able to get married and have kind of equal rights under law with marriage and all that. And I think at this point, most people agree that that's fair, just how it should be. There really isn't too many major issues on it. And I think a lot of those people who really fought for gay rights as a movement just kept going. There's like, well, what's the next one? I have all this energy. I'm still fairly young. Because you got to remember.
But also, we're not taking you serious because you're only 1% of the population. So how do I make my voice louder? How do I get my voice taken? Because the reality was the fight was to get married.
Yeah.
And that was a human right that only made sense. So by a certain point, it was like, well, duh. Yeah, let them all get married. Well, now you've put millions of dollars in making these corporations that are pushing a narrative, and you had to get, people that are dressed up like foxes and people that want to, cut their wiener off. You had to get them on board so that way you could just marry your husband. And now that you can marry your husband, you're like, well, shit, we've got this whole program. Now what? Okay, well, now we got to get litter boxes in school. So now we got to put puberty to an absolute halt in children. Like the envelope keeps going because you, created a group that took on other people's needs because you couldn't be less significant in terms of numbers. You literally couldn't matter less. You couldn't. Mormons matter more, and we don't even take them serious. Literally, the Amish matter more in terms of utilitarianism. Greatest number, maximizing happiness for the greatest number of people. There are more Amish people we need to worry about than gay people. But Amish can't go, hey, let's just congregate with all the other weird people that don't like electricity so our voice gets heard.
Well, it's more difficult for them to communicate. They're self-limiting. Yeah. But when you get to inclusiveness, you do have to include everybody. And I think the LGBT movement is all about, I think you agree, it's all about inclusiveness. So you just got to keep finding more and more people that kind of, and you just get more and more niche on it. I'd be curious to see what exactly is the full.
But the
full
theme
language of
first
it.
was just include your cousin or your brother or your sister who's gay. Just include them.
Yep.
And now the narrative, no matter what, whether it's minor attracted persons or people that pee in litter boxes, the narrative has now become include everybody. I want everybody included. And the problem is, I had friends in law school that they were conflicted because they were like, I just want to marry my wife. Like, that's all I'm fighting for. And, cutting kids' wieners off is a totally different game. And I'm actually not wanting to be encompassed with that. And that's how you have like major accounts. Like what is it? Queers Against Grooming or Gays Against Grooming, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that there has to be now a counterculture because it's become it's so untethered from logic, you actually can't combat it. Like, you can't have a dialogue and actually try to deconstruct it because there's nothing to deconstruct. It's all fantasy land. Nothing's real about it. And when you try to make them see that, you try to make them confront their ideas, they get triggered, they lash out, because the reality is they have to confront them that their ideas are faulty and they don't have the retrospective ability to do that. So they just get triggered, because any conversation boiled in logic has to root you. You want to take a moral perspective here.
Mm-hmm.
You are talking to people that are listening, and you want to be seen as a welcoming, empathetic person.
That's it. It's fair.
Can you convince me that this person is totally mentally well? I mean, clearly, whether it's diet, lack of exercise, lack of sunlight, lack of socialization while they're not getting held enough as a kid, or simply having a genetic deformity or a defect like autism or something within their genes, you're going to tell me this person is as perfectly biologically sound as a Tom Brady?
No.
Okay,
I'm not going to make. I'm not
so
going to
we're
make that
catering
argument.
to somebody that needs help.
Well,
I'm not saying take a metal rod and shove it up their nose and hit it with a hammer that we thought was modern science for 100 years. But also, let's agree, something needs to be done here. I don't want to flip it to Pfizer to find a pill for me, but also I'm done pretending this doesn't actually call for some sort of intervention. Placating, like, at some point, like, I wanted to be a pirate, and it had to be told to me that you literally can't be a pirate. I literally was sent by somebody just like 2 days ago. Like, put your money where your mouth is. If you think that all of these kids are right in thinking whatever their imagination is reality, then I want you to take your kid that thinks they're a pirate, hack off their leg, poke their eye out, so they can have a peg leg, poke their eye out so they can have an eye patch, cut their hand off so they can have their hook, and let them be their pirate, because that's their truth, baby cakes. Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Because they could be a pirate if you just fucking let them, David.
They could. But I don't think every pirate had a peg leg or a peg hand and a parrot. I don't think all of them had it.
I think the kid with the imagination definitely wants to. Guess what? Every gay guy doesn't wear rainbow suspenders and assless chaps. But guess what? If you want to play the part and you're trying to lean into it, and guess what? If you're watching TV and you're autistic, and TV and iPhones and Instagram are all telling you that if this is who you are and this is what you identify as and this is your club, this is what you have to do to be a pirate, or in this case, to be a lovely queer boy.
But I don't. Because I think this law is a little more reactionary. Because it's not there isn't a law that says all furries must be allowed to wear their fursuits. I don't believe that law, as far as I understand, doesn't exist. So I think what this is doing more is, and I'm pretty even sure that even in most
preemptive gay strike.
Yeah, but it just comes off more. So it's like when your parents told you, hey, you're not allowed to drink, you're not allowed to smoke, you better not have sex before marriage. That kind of in the back of your mind, like, well, if they don't want me to do it, I want to do it more.
Right. Heroin sounds yummy now.
Yeah. Don't eat. Yeah. Don't eat cookies past X amount of time, or don't eat cookies unless it's for dessert. And you have that kind of that back of your head. Well, because they want me to, they don't want me to do it, I want to do it more. Are we half encouraging more of these people that probably wouldn't be furries to now be furries. Like, well, fuck, the government doesn't want me to do
No,
it.
is
so
it
I
the
need to-
government? No, I think the furry
I-
people are encouraging the furries.
David, it's a good point. No one ever told me to not be a furry. I didn't become.
Yeah. Being told not to be a furry didn't make me become a furry. This is the line, though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, somebody says, don't pick up the magazine of girls dressed up like bunnies.
Yeah.
And guess what? I did it. I snuck it. It was under my underwear drawer. Okay. At the same time, though, there was not, guess what? My nature, God, the ordain, made my DNA need that magazine, sloppy and crumbly, hidden under my socks. At the same time, though, that same nature ordained from above actually had zero interest and then transferring into humping my stuffed animal. Nope, stayed with the magazine. And then it evolved into a real girl. The instance we're talking about is the person that also can't take the leap. These are misfits. These are people that are literally in a world of their own and just happen to, again, reach out and find the other freak in a basement and go, oh, I can have human contact. And again,
Like I still come back to the thing. I think the biggest thing for them was 4chan and like Reddit and like avenues like that where they could just like communicate nationwide with others. Like
I like that. I'm going to wind it back.
Okay.
I'm being cruel. I'm being cruel. Admittedly, me, never. Admittedly, for the first time, there's this girl named Abby on TikTok. She has autism. She is on Netflix show Love on the Spectrum or whatever it's called. And it's truly entertaining. And, you know, I watched an episode for the first time because I was seeing these TikToks and these people seem very interesting and they're very different. I think there's something fascinating about autistic people because where they are socially different in many respects because of their anomaly, they're like the smartest people. Not all of them. Some of them literally just have like cocoon nests in their bedroom and they just like curl up. The accountant, though, that's a real thing. That also doesn't seem extraordinary because it's also a cool symptom. I don't want to live in a world without those types of people. You know, as a kid, I was always afraid, like, God, please don't punish me with a Down syndrome person. I always thought that. Truthfully, I'm being honest with my heart.
You know, I don't
That
think anyone
being said,
wants that for their child.
well, right.
Yeah.
But that was a young, like early middle school, high school, because they were different. I didn't know much. It was foreign to me. But the older I've gotten and the more I've been exposed to people with Down syndrome, you learn that they are probably the greatest blessing for those families. Like there is now a foundational pillar of happiness and joy in all of these families. It's different. It poses its own difficulties. He's not going to be sneaking out of the house to go get into trouble with his friends. But also now there's medical issues and things that arise that take different attention. It's its own difficulty. But also I've come to learn how beautiful and valuable that is in people's lives. So I don't want to be so callous to the point where like this person, like again, Love on the Spectrum. You watch this and even more beautiful than anything is the fact that like, this is a person that I could never like hold an evening with because it's just like, we're on two different planes. But watching two like-minded people converse with each other, they reach a harmony that's really magical to watch. Like it's like, wow, like there is a person for everybody. And so I'm not such a calloused asshole to say that like people shouldn't be able to find other people. I'm not trying to sit here and make the position that being a furry should be illegal in Oklahoma. What gets weird is when you're doing book readings with transgender folk at local libraries and furry programs being put on at these schools and everything. That's where the trigger word, YouTube, sue me, but we're on other platforms for a reason. So go check us out. Because when I say the word grooming, at least we don't get triggered on the other accounts. That being said, that is what we're trying to combat here. This is a topic of First Amendment freedom of speech on school grounds dialogue with children and how this impacts the curriculum and the school itself. Is this distracting? If you're the only child, if the whole school was this, back to that, then it's different. But if you're the only kid, you are definitely distracting the other kids, and you're probably painting a giant target on your back. So it's for the betterment of the goal of having schools. I mean, you build a building and just say, this is free babysitting and education for everybody close to the building. Anybody within so many yards, just come on in. And we got to make this thing work. Not everybody's going to be able to wear, my dad's metalhead shirt with like heads on pikes. But guess what? You could go home and wear that and bond with your dad about it. You want to go to a furry convention where all of the collection, the club of students go? Sure, but we're talking about the schoolhouse grounds, and that's where things get weird. I don't know. Final thoughts, and we're going to flip to Brian because Brian has comments too that we can wrap up with.
So I guess my final thoughts are probably going to be reminiscent of my opening thoughts here as well. A lot of this, I think, is political theater for this congressperson's side. I'm still not too terribly convinced that furries are in large enough numbers that we need to enact laws as such, or there's laws protective of furries themselves that we need to have combative laws to kind of change the course in the dialogue. And I really also don't think too many people are really pro furry.
Except David, for some reason.
I seem to be. I'm carrying water for them here on this particular segment. But definitely, they're not. I do avoid them. If one's walking down the street, I'm just going to go on the other side of the street. They freak me out. They scare me on like a different level that I'm really not used to. It's just not great. However,
How do you converse?
Right, you can't.
I've never even tried.
Weather in there, I totally get that. I get what you're saying. I feel the exact same way.
But again, if you can't converse with them and you're going to cross to the other side of the street when you're walking by them, then that is an illness that should not be protected. If somebody walked up to me, stabbed me, and I'm gushing blood out of the side of my stomach, and I'm like, no, I don't like doctors. I'm supposed to bleed like this. This is my truth. I'm supposed to bleed. I would really hope you'd go, no, we're going to get you to a doctor. Even though you think you're supposed to have a gaping wound in the side of your body. No, your cavity is not supposed to be spraying everywhere. So we're going to take you to a doctor. To me, you going to the other side of the road, you not being able to converse with them, totally concedes to me this we are placating to illnesses. I don't know.
They're weird. They are weird. They're hard to relate to for the majority of everybody, not just normal people. Everybody. There's weird people going, I don't want any part of this. So yeah, it's hard to defend them, but I do have to. I got to bring the other side here. There's two sides to every single coin here. Brian, what do we got here? What's your thoughts on this one?
So before I get to my thoughts, Bama Boy said, pirates are real.
That's right. And they're Somalian.
They are real, yeah.
And just not the ones we're thinking of. And Ricky said,
yeah, so
true
again,
to this
let's
day,
say
the Middle
let's
East.
say I identified as a modern pirate.
Ooh.
What, I just get to go in blackface all the time now?
No,
I'm a modern pirate.
They had that South Park episode.
Right.
They already got it covered.
It's so true.
Middle East, Africa, Ricky said, and I said, you can't forget about the Caribbean. There's a lot of pirates down there.
Exactly.
Is there Cuban pirates?
The shoe polish is my truth. I'm a pirate, Dad. I'm a pirate.
Bama Boy said, the people growing up with the internet don't understand the struggle that we had with magazines. And
That's
Ricky
right.
said,
That's right. You really had to hide some things.
Man, Bama Boy, he's on it today.
Ricky stole his dad's DVDs. Yeah, I know about them VHS tapes. So
Yeah, we've been there.
My closing thoughts. I got I think this furry culture is kids that are looking for attention and being attention whores and
Yours.
Yeah, it's
Here's-
part of it.
and I'm a big fan of the Irish or the Amish.
Me too, dude.
The
Me too.
Amish.
I love those.
You know what? I think
I love
the show is
Irish.
pro-Irish. We're all pro-Irish here.
Amish, yes.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Rethink Tank Live. Join us every Tuesday at 7 p.m. streaming across the platforms on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We do our best to promote user engagement, and we want you involved. So be sure to bring your perspective live so we can get you in the dialogue. See you then.